Don't forget, you can reach the latest episode of Potomac Watch anytime. Just ask your smart speaker, play the Opinion Potomac Watch podcast.
From the opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, this is Potomac Watch.
Welcome back. Elliot, how do you think that the U.S. should respond to these ICC warrants? The White House and President Biden have denounced them. But if the U.S. really wanted to get serious here, what could it do in terms of sanctions, perhaps, to do something beyond just sending a message?
Right. So a few steps are needed. The first of which is to pressure other states, encourage other states to say that they will also reject these arrest warrants and won't enforce them. That's how that French statement happened. Okay. France was actually going the other way on this, but then Israel said that this would get in the way of the ceasefire deal with Hezbollah, in which France has some role on the committee. And so the U.S. said, France, you got to make this statement. Macron heard that and went along with it. Other European states, most prominently Germany, have been moving in that direction as well, but they should all be more forceful about this, especially those states that host U.S. troops. They need to be heard on this issue. So that's one. But two, you're right, sanctions. The ICC isn't on some hilltop somewhere. It's a cosmopolitan organization, very much involved in developed world, travel, work, payments, all of that. Cutting it off from the U.S. banking system and cutting off its top 100 or 200 officials from that banking system would have immediate effects on British banks, on banks in the European Union and throughout, and would make it increasingly difficult for the ICC to do any work at all, to pay its staff. It would really bring the organization to heel. Now, these sanctions have been ready for months now. The House passed them in, I want to say June, on a bipartisan vote. It's been stuck in the Senate, being held up by Senator Chuck Schumer on the White House's instructions. President Biden wanted to go a different path. Maybe he could have stopped these arrest warrants if he really wanted to, but he never took that step. Now, as Republicans are coming, they have made it absolutely clear. More sanctions are on the way. The House sanctions, but possibly even more than that, also going after organizations, states that aid and abet the ICC. And so it's going to feel America's response to this. Its decision won't be taken lightly.
For the record, this was President Biden's statement last week. The ICC issuance of arrest warrants against Israeli leaders is outrageous. Let me be clear once again, whatever the ICC might imply, there is no equivalence, none, between Israel and Hamas. We will always stand with Israel against threats to its security. And Bill, we'll give you the last word. To my eye, that statement is fine as far as it goes, but the incoming Republican Senate and the incoming Republican administration in the White House, the State Department, and beyond, I think, as Elliot lays out, might be more interested in backing up those kinds of words with real action by the U.S.
Yes, amen. The operative words in what you just said, as far as it goes, it's a lot of problem with Joe Biden. He said sometimes the right thing, but his actions day to day have not backed it up. The big difference, if I had to say macro difference of Trump coming in and replacing the Biden team, I think Trump has a good idea of who our friends are and who our enemies are. And we're going to side with our friends and we're not going to side with our enemies. We're going to oppose our enemies. And I don't think Joe Biden did that. He mouthed a lot of support for Israel's right to defend itself, but anytime it did, he criticized them for doing it. I think we're going to end that. I think that ends when Trump comes in, and I think it bodes well for peace, bodes well for innocent civilians in Israel and Lebanon, and I look forward to it.
Thank you, Bill and Elliot. Thank you all for listening. You can email us at pwpodcast@wsj.com. If you like the show, please hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back later this week with another edition of Potomac Watch.